I've never really been in an anime outside of Attack on Titan, so I did not expect solo leveling to pull me in this hard, and definitely not this fast. This show wastes no time getting straight into the action, and I really like how it introduces the hunters from S through E rank in a big action scene. Like, it sets the stage very early on for, okay, these are what these people are doing, here's what they're fighting. They also all have organized ranks. Like, there's people who are tanks, there's people who are healers, there's mages. Everything feels really organized and structured, and it's not like all over the place or chaotic. Like, it doesn't leave you confused, and you get a really good idea of who does what and the dynamic very early on. And speaking of the dynamic and the hunters and what they do, I want to talk about the dungeons really quick, because the dungeon gates are like tears in space to another dimension, and they need to be cleared as soon as possible so they don't turn into dungeon breaks. And from the jump, these gates feel like a game mechanic, but with real world consequences attached to them. Like, you get what I'm saying? And honestly, this setup is so sick, and I've played a few games like this in the past, so seeing an anime that doesn't just tell a story but still feels like you're watching a video game unfold in real time, it immediately captivated me, and I was locked in from there. And this is where we meet Jinwoo, or Jinwoo. I don't know exactly which way it's said, but I'm gonna go with Jinwoo, so don't hate me. And he's our main guy, who's known as the weakest hunter of all mankind. He awakened as an E rank, and he's always seen himself as a bit of a liability, especially during raids. And during these raids, he's not fighting monsters, not by any means. He's just running for his life and trying to survive the raid so he can make a bit of money and go back home. During one raid, right when the group thinks the dungeon is complete, they realize it's actually a double dungeon, and none of them have seen one before, so they take a vote on whether they should continue or not.
All right, that's 6 in favor of going and 6 opposed, which would make Jinwoo here the deciding vote.
Well, it's up to me?
I'm gonna be honest, like every horror movie ever, they ignore every single red flag this dungeon has shown and decide to go ahead, and little do they know, they're walking straight into hell. And once they enter this double dungeon, everything feels off. The statues are really uncanny, the atmosphere just feels wrong, and once every single one of them enter the double dungeon, the door slams shut behind them. Once they realize they've essentially walked themselves into a sealed tomb with no guarantee they're getting out, people start to freak out. One guy even tries to run towards the door and open it, but he just gets instantly killed, like no second chances. This proves to everyone else that they have made a huge mistake, and up until this moment, the show feels like a fun dungeon raiding fantasy show. Then it suddenly pivots and turns into a straight up horror scenario, and I don't know the actual name of the main statue, so I'm just gonna call him like the giant statue god or something, and it genuinely feels like this double dungeon itself is testing them. And even though Jinwoo is the weakest hunter there, he's the first one to recognize that there's a pattern to what's happening, so he starts calling things out and helping the group survive by thinking rather than fighting.
See? Look, just like that old kids game. So, all eyes on the statues.
And this shows from very early on, even though he's not strong, he has a sense of like perception where he catches things earlier than other people. In this double dungeon, the final test is easily the cruelest one. The door opens and escape is right there, but the statues begin closing in. This test isn't about strength anymore. It's about faith and restraint, and since Jinwoo lost a leg during the previous test, he can't leave. So he tells everyone else to get out while they still can, and he'll stay back and keep the door open long enough for them to escape.
Apologize. I'd let you have a proper goodbye, but we really are out of time.
Please take good care of her.
I will.
And just when it looks like Jinwoo dies alone, a strange menu appears in front of him asking if he wants to become a player. And this moment is insane. Your brain is going 2 places at once. There's no way they just killed the main character. And what the hell was that menu? It drops a massive question mark right at the end of the episode, and it completely hooks you in. Like, I was just fully roped into the show at this point, and there was no way I was gonna stop watching it. And then the next episode picks up in the hospital. Believe it or not, Jinwoo's not dead. He wakes up in the hospital with members from the Hunters Association who speculate that he might have had a second awakening, because there's no other explanation for how someone that weak could survive a situation where so many more high ranks passed away.
If they really encountered insta-kill level magic beasts, there's no way an average hunter would have made it out of that situation alive.
It's also the same scene where we learn that hunters normally only awaken once with 1 rank and 1 role. The rules are clearly established, which makes what's happening to Jinwoo feel even stranger. Like, you're like, okay, why can he level up when no one else can? And this is when we start to get hints of what's happening to Jinwoo. Like, we learn more about the system or the screen. But with Jinwoo, these 1 rank and 1 role rules, they don't apply. He's forced to complete daily training quests, and while he does get physically stronger like anybody else would, his magic level actually increases too, which is not normal. You're not supposed to be able to just get stronger by training. Here's what things get actually pretty funny. If he skips his training, he's thrown into a brutal punishment zone that feels straight out of the Dune movies. Like he's sprinting through a wasteland with giant centipedes, he has no weapons, and the only instruction he's given is don't die. This is like pure torture. You better hope you got a lot of adrenaline in that body so you could just keep going, because there's no sleep, there's no nothing, and you're stuck there for 48 hours. But eventually, when he completes these quests, he earns experience points, and he can directly invest these points into stats like strength, agility, perception, just like a video game. At this point, it fully confirms what the show has been hinting at up to this point. Jinwoo isn't just living in the world, he's leveling up inside of it. He even starts getting loot boxes, and one of these items give him a key to his first instance dungeon, and inside of it he faces goblins that he couldn't even touch before, but now he's taking them down with ease. And this gives us our first real hint to show that he is getting stronger. He's not the same E-rank Jinwoo that we've seen before, and he isn't just getting bigger muscles or getting physically stronger, he's becoming a more capable fighter in a way that fundamentally breaks the world's rules. Like he's not supposed to be able to do this. And by episode 4, we're not just waiting on lore anymore, we're not just waiting to figure out what happens next, we're actually experiencing the show right alongside Jinwoo as he himself figures out what he's going through. And this is where the show stops being fully what if and starts feeling dangerous in a different way. And it's not just horror from the double dungeon anymore, but pressure. Jinwoo isn't just surviving the system now, he's actively testing it, and he's also using the game just like the game is using him. At this point, Jinwoo is moving through the world with information no one else has. He's still officially an E-rank on paper, but throughout the episodes, he's starting to think differently than everyone around him.
I didn't think a single attack would work. Best guess is that Golem's stamina was already low.
He's cautious, calculated, and way more aware of everything that's happening around him. Like he's no longer just living his life. He can see everything from almost like a third person's perspective, which gives him an insane advantage. Another cool insight to his character that I noticed was the show doesn't just rush him into just being overly confident or overly strong. Yes, he's stronger, but he doesn't fully trust it yet, and that hesitation actually makes the next few episodes really emphasize how unfair the Hunter world actually is. Your worth inside this world all comes from what guild you're a part of, how much money you have, what rank you are. All of this is like a subplot in the show that you feel throughout the whole way through, but Jinwoo is just silently in the background exploiting this system.
I think I get it now. If the system is bent on using me, I'm just gonna have to use the system.
And the system starts to feel less like a mechanic and more like something actively observing him. His quests aren't just tasks anymore, they're tests, and these quests change in difficulty and length at any moment. He could die, and it really reinforces the fact that I think whatever gave him this power is testing him, and that creates this underlying tension that the rules can change at any moment. And for me, that uncertainty is part of what kept me locked in and engaged throughout these next couple episodes. Oh, and adding on to what kept me engaged is one thing that actually really surprised me is how restrained the show is. The show could have leaned hard into like big flashy fights and just straight action, but instead it focuses on preparation, a lot of his decision making, and Jinwoo realizing how different his situation actually is. This evolution of his character is where I stopped seeing him as the just weak E-rank hunter and started seeing him as someone dangerous in like a completely new way. Like yes, he's strong, he's powerful, but during some of these fights, especially against other humans, he becomes like half monster. Like his morals are great, he doesn't hesitate. So that side of him when the system takes over is just insanely scary. Like he could almost lose control at any moment.
So now I want to know if the hunters are ready to be preyed upon.
But yeah, episodes 4 through 6 is kind of when the story slows down, but it does it in a good way because this is when they let the tension settle and they really let Jinwoo as a character grow. Like this is probably one of the biggest transitions in the show going into the second half. You see Jinwoo go from that weak E-rank hunter to Jinwoo being a force to be reckoned with. And this shift in Jinwoo kind of makes him overconfident. He's walking into situations expecting to win now, not arrogantly, but with intent. Like he plans plans on winning. He's no longer reacting to the danger, he's positioning himself around it to put himself in the best possible spot to win. And this shift alone kind of changes how the show feels. And one of the things I really liked about this show is how it doesn't frame his strength as like heroic or how he's like the hero yet. He's very suspicious of everyone. He's very secret and he's getting stronger and stronger, but at what cost? Because he's drifting further and further away from the people that he cared about before he got the system's power. And you can feel the isolation creeping in, like the stronger he gets, the further he disconnects from humanity, the further he becomes something else. And this shift isn't just like, here's the shift, it's visual and it happens over time. In the earlier episodes, the fights were more survival based. Here in the later episodes, the fights are deliberate. Jinwoo chooses who to engage with, he chooses who to fight, and he chooses how far he's willing to go. So whenever he does choose to engage or to fight somebody, it hits a lot harder because you know he has that restraint.
Who are you?
Jinwoo-sung, E-rank hunter.
But that choice comes with the realization that's actually kind of terrifying, because by the end of this act, Jinwoo doesn't feel like the weakest hunter who got lucky anymore. He feels like an anomaly, something that doesn't belong in the system and might actually eventually break it. That kind of roped me back in, because now I'm curious of, okay, what happens next? Does he break the system? Does he figure out how to work with the system? Do they become one? What happens? Like, how does this end? Because for me, this is when the show stopped feeling like a progression of the character and started feeling like an inevitability. And that makes the reunion moments with the original party from the first double dungeon land, because the contrast is undeniable. Jinwoo hasn't just changed physically, he's changed in presence. Like, other people notice, oh, Jinwoo feels different to be around.
I gotta say, though, what happened to the gentle Jinwoo I used to know? It's only been a few short months, but you're like a new man.
And episode 10 works especially well because it slows down the story and really lets those relationships marinate. Like, after each escalation, the show lets Jinwoo exist as a person again, watching him build trust with Jinho. And I really did like this dynamic between Jinho and Jinwoo, because this relationship really does emotionally ground the story. And it's not about strength, it's about partnership. And Jinho really does grow to become one of Jinwoo's closest associates or even friends. So it's really cool to see that Jinwoo's not completely cutting everyone out. And this relationship matters more than any stat increase, especially for a show built on leveling up, because it shows that Jinwoo isn't fully integrated with the system yet. And the system and Jinwoo's connection isn't done yet, because the job change quest really feels different, mainly because it's framed like a turning point, not just another challenge. The system isn't asking, can Jinwoo survive anymore? It's asking, is Jinwoo worthy of the power he's been given? It tests his mental.
So pathetic. All that talk about how ready you are, and this is the best you could do.
So it tests his physical. It tests essentially everything he's learned up to this point. This is when Jinwoo and the system really become one. They're fully integrated. He unlocks the necromancer title within the system. He levels up his power to the next level. And somewhere in here, I stopped watching out of curiosity and started watching just out of pure investment. Not because I wanted to see how strong he'd get, but because I wanted to see what he would come across along the way. And by the end, I wasn't asking if it was a good anime. I was asking what I had watched next once this one was over. But yeah, this is honestly the perfect entrance anime for non-anime fans. I went in expecting something fun, but left feeling invested in a character I didn't think I would care about that much. And I've watched this show twice now. Once just to enjoy it, and once just for this video. And it still hit both times, and that's when I knew it wasn't just hype. And I haven't started season 2 yet. So if you want to follow up when I do, let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, consider hitting the subscribe button. And as always, stay curious and keep the conversation going.